In this session, we'll discuss about functions. What is function? Functions are written to reuse block of statements in more than one place in a program. This avoids writing same block of code multiple places. A function in Python is defined by def statement. Let's create a very basic function which does sum of two numbers and print them. As we discussed, any function in Python starts with def keyword followed by name of the function. Colon. Here you need to provide block of code which will be executed every time you make call to this function. In our case, we want to provide sum of two numbers. So let's say a equal to 20, b equal to 30, and print the sum. Sum of a plus b is a plus b. Now the function is over. Let's make a call to this function. That's let's execute. So now every time we call, it prints this. So now make another line and execute it. So now every time this function, every time we call this function, it executes this block of code. In this case, we made two calls to the function, executed this block of code two times and printed the result here. Here, the keyword def marks the start of the function, and this is name of the function. Make your function name unique in the program. Functions help break our program into small and modular chunks. As our program grows larger and larger, functions make it more organized and manageable. And also it avoids repetition and makes code reusable. These are the advantages of functions and why we need functions in our programming. Now let's improve this code. Here a and b is always constants. That means a equal to 20, b equal to 20. Every time we call this method, these values will never change. This always print sum as 50. Now we want to change this behavior. We want to pass a and b values to the function and print the sum. How can we do that? We can pass them as inputs to the functions. Parameters are arguments through which we can pass values to a functions. They are optional too. Let's try the example. Let's modify. I'm copying the method here and let's define arguments or parameters a comma b. So now print sum of a plus b is a plus b. So now let's make a call. So we need to pass inputs a comma b values, say 40 comma 50. Let's run. We see the value is 90. If we change this to 150, when you run, it became 190. Now let's further improve it. We don't want the function to print the sum. We want to get the sum from the function and use it somewhere else. How can we do that? We can use return statement. Let's update our code with return statement here. Now I'll copy this. So now yes equal to a plus b. Yes is storing sum of the two variables. Now let's use return statement and return the value of yes which holds sum. Now we are out of the method, out of the function, make a call and print it. Print sum, and you can pass values here 23 comma 56. When you execute, we get the sum. The same thing, we pass different values 345 and 98. So it's a 443. So now what exactly happening here? We are passing two variables to the method, and inside the method we are summing those two variables and returning the sum, right? So when the program encounters return statement here, it returns the value and exit the function and go back to the place from where it was called. Return statement is optional. In case if you didn't specify any return statement, it returns none. Let's try. In one of the case, we don't have return statement. Let's take this example and put it here. Try to see what exactly it returns. Print the return. Print sum of two numbers 10 comma 20. Execute it. So now when we make call to this function, it went inside and printed this, and it returned. In this case, this print statement prints whatever this method returns. Since we do not have any return keyword here, the function returns none. The same value is printed. The same value is printed on the console here. So now basically we can divide functions into two types. The first one is built-in functions. The functions that are already built into Python, like we have seen many examples like length, max, min. In our previous videos, we have seen those, right? They are Python built-in methods. The second one is user-defined functions. The functions defined by the users themselves, like the one we have created here. It's a user-defined function. We'll talk more about function arguments now. We'll understand better. Let's copy our previous code. So now we need to make a call to this function. 10 comma 20. It returns 30. What happens if I don't pass one of the parameter? For example, I don't pass 20. I pass only 10. But if you notice, this function expecting two variables. Let's run and see what is the behavior. Now here the behavior is, it is throwing an error. If you notice the type error, sum of two numbers missing one required potential argument b. So it throws error. So both input parameters are mandatory in this case. We can make them optional too. In this case, we need to provide default values. For example, let's alter here. You can provide default value with equal to and assign value directly to the parameter. Let's run and see the result. So now the sum is 20. What exactly happening? When you're making a call to this function, we supposed to send two parameters, but here we are sending only one parameter. So in the function definition, while declaring a parameter b, we're also giving default value. It says that if the user does not provide any value while making a call to this function, the value provided here will be default and used inside the function. In case if we send any value, the function takes the value sent by the user and ignores the default value. So this is the behavior with default values. Same way, we can assign default value to a also. We can ignore both of these parameters while calling the function. Still, it returns results. This is about default values to function inputs. Now let's understand the behavior of parameter order. I'll write another method with different types. Let's say def person. Person is name of a function, and we have two parameters, name, age. What we are doing exactly here, we want to check whether given person is an adult or not. So now if age greater than equal to 18, print name and is an adult, else print name is not an adult. So now if I call person with values Nataraj and age 25, it returns Nataraj is an adult because it is 25 above 18. If I put 15, sorry, I made a mistake, it's supposed to be 18. Now if I put 15, it returns Nataraj is not an adult, right? What if we interchange the position of these values? Let's say I'll send age first and I'll send string. What are we expecting? Let's run and see the behavior. Now it is throwing an error. What is the error? Greater than or equal to not supported between instances of string and int. So looks like when we are making any function call, the parameters must be in the same order. Otherwise, the parameters, like for example, in this case, the first parameter name, we are expecting a string. Second parameter age, we are expecting integer. So if you interchange that, a string will be assigned to integer and it is failing while executing if condition. So now how can we deal these kind of situations? So Python also supports something like keyword arguments. What you can do in case if you don't want to maintain the order, just assign the parameter name as a key and send them, sorry, age equal to 15 and name equal to Nataraj. So now it is very clear while making a function call, you are saying that assign 15 value to parameter age and you are mentioning that as a keyword here. Assign string value Nataraj to the variable called name, and you are using that as a key here. This is called keyword arguments. The keywords are mentioned during the function call along with their corresponding values. These keywords are mapped with function arguments, so the function can easily identify the corresponding values even if the order is not maintained during the function call. Hope you understood. Let's talk about variable number of arguments. This is very useful when we don't know the exact number of arguments that we will be passed to the function. In one of the previous example, we were taking two numbers and getting sum. What if my input numbers are dynamic? Let's say it's like I have more than two numbers and I'm not sure how many numbers I will pass as part of input, right? Now let's take the previous example, the one we had here. So in this case, I must send only two numbers. This function is capable enough to receive two numbers and make a sum, return it. What if I have dynamic number of numbers every time I make a function call? So this function will not help me. So how to handle the situation? So there is a concept called variable arguments in Python. It will help us in such situations. So now let's write def get sum. Any variable arguments, you must start with star. When you say star, the variable is going to hold multiple arguments. Arg. It's my parameter name. Now, now return sum of vararg. So now if you notice, while using that, I'm not including asterisk here, right? That's a definition in the function saying that when you mention star, it's a variable argument. While using the same argument or parameter, you don't need to use the star inside the function. Remember that. Now let's print it. Print get sum will pass 23, 45, 67, 23. So now if you notice, it has taken 4 input parameters. Now I'll add another one, 54. Like this, you can add any number of parameters with variable arguments. You can achieve such situations. Let's talk about return statement. Till now, return statement is handling only one parameter. You can also use return statement to return multiple values. Let's try a simple example. We'll take multiple input numbers and we want to return sum and max numbers together. Let's write a method def get sum and max. We'll use where args my list, and here is equal to sum of my list and m equal to max my list. Now we have two variables. Let's make them part of return statement or return return s comma m. So my function is ready. Now let's call it sum comma max equal to 10, 45, 23, 89, 45, 12. Let's print the return values. Print sum, comma, max dot format sum, comma, max. So this is about functions in Python. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel.